there was a little elf. And it was little elf's first big day at the Father Christmas factory. He had waited 4 years to be able to actually join the Father Christmas factory. He absolutely hated it every year when his brother and sister jumped into the sleigh and off they went. Oh, and he was left behind. "You're too little," they said. "When you're older." And he'd waited, and he'd waited, and he'd waited. But now, today, he was old enough. And his brother and his sisters had travelled on the sleigh with him to Father Christmas's factory. When he arrived, he could not believe what he saw. There were huge, long conveyor belts, all with presents going along, and he was taken to the very bottom of one conveyor belt, where he was told that he was to be the delivery boy. Well, more a runner, really. The presents came off the delivery belt, already wrapped, already tied up with string, and what he had to do was just follow whatever Big Elf shouted to him. It might be number 1 sleigh for delivery, and he'd have to run there. Or it might be number 2 sleigh for delivery, and he'd have to run over there. He was so excited he couldn't wait. Big Elf stood at the end of the conveyor belt. "You ready, little elf?" he said. "Oh, yes, yes. I've been waiting so long for this. I'm really, really excited." "Right. Well, off we go." And the bell dinged and the conveyor belt started. And down the conveyor belt came present after present. And the very first present that came down, Big Elf picked it up and he gave it to Little Elf and he said, "Delivery sleigh number 1. Little Elf was so excited. He looked at the present and he thought, "Oh, yes, sir, right now, sir." And he started to run off with the little present. And then he realized that he didn't know what it was. Hmm. And he looked so interesting. And he wondered what might actually be inside there. And would it really matter if he just took a peek? Because, his fingers were beginning to tingle, and he could feel his feet beginning to have a rush of adrenaline, and his heart was beating faster and faster. And before he knew it, rip, rip, rip! The present was all open. Little Elf looked. It's only a rocket, and it's not even a very nice colour, he said. That's a bit disappointing. But he quickly then thought, what do I do now? I've opened a present. I didn't even know what I was doing. And he quickly stuffed the wrapping paper in his pocket, and then he quickly hid the present behind a big Christmas tree which was just outside the delivery doors. Right, I need to calm down, he said. What I need to do is to go back now and just pretend that nothing's happened, and I'll wait for the next present, and I won't open that one because that's such a dreadful thing to do. So he went back to the conveyor belt. Big Elf took a look at him and said, "You took your time." "Oh, no, I was just finding the right sleigh." "Oh, well, shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, here's another present. Now, which one is this?" "Yes, delivery sleigh number 2. He handed it to Little Elf. Little Elf grabbed it in his hands and started to run off. And then as he got outside the delivery doors, he looked. This was slightly smaller present this time. What might be in this one? He didn't know. And he could feel it again. The urge, the rush, it was beginning to come all over him. I mustn't, but I'm going to. And he opened the present, ripping the paper off. Oh, this is a bit more exciting, he thought. Oh, this is a game that I can play on the computer. That's a really interesting present, but oh, it's not mine. And I've opened it again. What can I do? So off he went, hid another present behind the Christmas tree, and filled his jacket with all the wrapping paper. I'd like to tell you that he didn't do it again, but he did. And he did. And he did. It just kept happening all the time, one time after another, until his pockets were literally bulging with all the Christmas paper. And there he was, just before lunch, at the bottom of the delivery belt with Big Elf, when Big Elf said to him, "My goodness me, your pockets are getting full. They're bulging. What have you got in them, boy?" "Well," said Little Elf, it's nothing really. It's my lunch," he said. Yes, it's my lunch." But then the driver of delivery sleigh number 1 came in, and he said to Big Elf, "What's going on here then? I can't believe this." He said, "Are you not delivering any presents to the children in Wales this year? Because my sleigh is empty." "Your sleigh is empty?" said Big Elf. No, I've put in several presents to go to delivery sleigh number 1 to Wales." "Well," said the delivery driver, "they haven't reached me." "Well, so they should. Let me think now. Where could any mistakes have actually happened? I gave them all to..." And he looked down at Little Elf. And there was Little Elf with, oh, yes, by now, a bit of Christmas paper sneaking out of his pocket. Big Elf had a huge frown. I won't tell you what he said. All I'll say is that Father Christmas was summoned, and when he appeared, he said, "Little Elf, I cannot believe it. You have actually cost us a whole morning's work. That is it. You were actually too little to work in my factory. I've got a good mind to send you home." "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry," said the Little Elf. "Sorry's not good enough, I'm afraid. If you can't stop ripping things open, then you're going to have to go to the reindeer department. In fact, you are now going to be the reindeer dropping boy. That's the best punishment that I can actually give you. That's where you're to stay for the rest of the season." Oh, there was no use complaining. Little Elf knew that he'd done wrong, and he went back to the reindeer little huts and stables, and that's where he stayed for most of the season, collecting poo. Blech. But actually, it wasn't all bad. He began to make friends with some of the reindeer, and Rudolph was exceptionally kind to him. So, at the end of the day, little elf knew he'd done wrong, but, well, he was paying for it. And then, the day before Christmas, something happened. In ran Big Elf. Little elf, you're wanted now. Come on, come with me, quickly. Why? Why? What's going on? You must come to the conveyor belt, and you must come now. Little elf thought, oh, that's good. Maybe I'm going to be allowed to do the deliveries again. Maybe that would be really good. Oh, I am really sorry, and I have done all the reindeer drop-ins, and shh, said Big Elf. This is an emergency. And so, grabbing Little Elf's hand, they ran to the delivery area. And there coming down were lots and lots of presents, final presents before the Christmas Eve delivery. And Big Elf said, "Rip them open." Little Elf looked at him. "What?" "Rip them open." But I got told off for doing that before," said Little Elf. "Doesn't matter. This is an emergency. We're looking for a sandwich." "Sandwich?" said Little Elf. Yes. One of the elves on the conveyor belt dropped his sandwich, and the wrapping machine wrapped it up, and now we don't know where it is in amongst all these presents, and we have to quickly find it. We must rip open all these presents as quickly as possible in the hope that we find the sandwich, or if we don't, can you imagine what's going to happen? Some poor child waking up on Christmas morning is going to open a mouldy sandwich. You are the answer to this, Little Elf. You are the fastest ripper of Christmas paper and presents that I know. On your marks, get set, go! And that was it. There was Little Elf ripping open every single present, one after another. No, and he wasn't even looking to see what they were. He just threw them over to the side, and other elves rushed up to the beginning of the conveyor belt and sent them back down for wrapping. And then suddenly Little Elf said, "I found it! I found it!" And there was the most revolting looking, horrible looking, squashed cheese sandwich you have ever seen. The tomato was squished on the top, and somebody had put onions in it, and the smell, well, to Little Elf, it was worse than the reindeer poo. "Oh, well done, well done!" But Little Elf almost then went for the next present to open it. No, Big Elf actually took Little Elf's arms, and he said, "I'm going to tie your arms up if you can't stop ripping open. You've saved the day, and that is enough." And then a big voice boomed out, Well. There we have it. Little Elf, you've saved the day. Well done." It was Father Christmas. "Oh, thank you. Can I come back on the delivery route now? Can I?" "I'm not sure about that," said Father Christmas. "I still think you have a tendency to want to keep on ripping presents open. But I'll tell you something, Little Elf, and this has taught me something. In certain circumstances, yes, those things that we think are faults, given the right time and the right situation, can actually be our greatest strengths." Well done, little elf. Well done.
Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the Strolls and Stories free YouTube channel, please consider doing so to receive notification of new stories. If you would like to show support for Jan's storytelling, please consider using the support link provided in the video description to make a contribution. Jan loves to hear from her listeners, so if you would like to contact her, please leave a comment below and she will get back to you.